I know a truth about my mom, and she doesn't know I know it. I haven't told anyone because it will make my family very sad and hurt our family business. It could also make us very poor, like when I was a kid. My parents came from El Salvador to the United States, and they met when they were young. They had four kids, and I'm the oldest. We grew up poor. My dad did construction and landscaping, but the work was not always there. Sometimes he didn't have a job, and we needed help getting food from the government and eating at places that give free food. My mom stayed home to take care of us. We were very, very poor and lived in the poorest area of our city. Because of this, I didn't know what things could help me become successful, and I didn't have anyone to look up to as an example. I was the oldest of four siblings. Even though we lived in old and fallen apartment houses, my dad couldn't find enough work to pay our bills. It's not that he didn't try hard. He worked a lot, but his English wasn't good, and he didn't know many words, which made it hard for him. My mom could talk normally and have a conversation. One day, my dad came home and told my mom that his friend wanted to work with him cleaning houses. His friend worked for a Mexican couple who puts ads on websites and in newspapers to offer cleaning service to different people like companies, apartments, and homeowners. When someone needs cleaning, they call the Mexican couple and then they hire my dad's friend and some other people they work with. The Mexican couple gets most of the money from the people who wants their houses cleaned. Once the work is done, the customer pays. My dad's friend gets 30% of the money and the couple gets 70%. The couple is the one who puts out the ads and hire my dad's friend and others to work with them. It's a really good business and the couple makes a lot of money. The customer gives their money directly to the couple, so they control everything. They talk to the customer themselves. The people the couple hires usually don't speak much English and don't have the right papers, so they can pay them less money. Most of them are just happy to have a job, like my dad. For my dad, it was an easy choice. Cleaning jobs always have work, unlike construction and landscaping that can come and go, leaving you without a job for a long time. Even though being a janitor wasn't a fancy job, my dad was grateful for it. He was working 15 hours a day, and we saw improvement in our quality of life, even though it was small on the larger scheme of things. But to us, it felt massive. That means that we barely saw my dad because he was working all the time. Then one day, my mom suggested that she and my dad start a janitorial business together. I was 17 back then and was a nerd, so I knew how to create a website and had an idea of how to market the business. I learned how to tell people about our business and where to show our ads. I set up our contact information, even though my parents can do that now. But in the beginning, I started telling people about our cleaning service on places like Craigslist, Facebook, the Yellow Pages, and in newspapers. I also made a website for us. I put in some extra effort and it really paid off. My dad got so many jobs that my mom and younger sibling helped him. Then my mom, me, and my two younger siblings all started working in the business. Before, we could barely pay the rent for an old apartment, but after a few years of doing this business, we saved enough money to buy a big house with 5 bedrooms. Our youngest was 9 years old then, so my mom would send him to a friend's house. My two younger siblings helped our dad and mom, and I went to different clients to do more work. Our whole family was involved, and we were earning a lot of money. 2 years later, my parents had four additional people working for them. Their business grew from cleaning houses to doing yard work, small construction jobs, and fixing plumbing problems. We went from being very poor to making a lot of money in just a short time. My parents wanted me to go to college as I was no longer required to be there to sustain the business. While I was in college, I was sitting in my dorm room surfing the web when my mind wandered to an adult content website. I was browsing through the site when I noticed an intriguing thumbnail with a title that says, "A man had X with a maid." I noticed something that caught my attention, so I clicked on it. There was a video playing. The video was playing, and in the video, a woman was cleaning a house, just like we usually do for our clients. However, what made the video unusual was that every corner of the house seemed to have hidden cameras. As I continued watching, I realized that the man who hired the maid was acting strangely. He was following her around, engaging in small talk, as if he was more interested in the maid rather than the cleaning she was doing. While I was watching, a sense of familiarity started to creep in, but I couldn't quite put my finger on it. Then, out of the blue, the client in the video cracked a joke, and the maid burst into laughter. The whole scene reminded me of something I had experienced before, although I couldn't immediately recall what it was. And then it hits me. To my horror, the maid in the video was my mom. This guy had a peculiar adult site he was running. He set up hidden cameras in the house, sort of like a place he might have rented for the occasion. Then he hires people to come over and do work. Usually it's maids, though sometimes he gets a massage therapist. Once this worker starts their job, that's when the interesting part happens. The man who hired them starts following them around the house. He acts like he's their buddy, cracking jokes and making small talk. He creates situations that leads to physical contact. Maybe they play some silly games or do something that requires them to be physically close to him. As time goes on, he goes a step further. He starts getting more touchy-feely, crossing personal boundaries. He promises them extra money if they are willing to do more, and somehow, a lot of time, they agree. It's really strange, but it's almost like a pattern. He captures all this interaction on video and then posts them on an adult website he runs. So, in a nutshell, this guy sets up a camera, hires maid, and sometimes massage therapist, befriends them during their work, gets them used to physical contact, and then offers more money for things that are way beyond the job they signed up for. It's surprising how often this seems to work. And he shares these videos on his adult site. He blurs his face and his victim face as well. But it was undeniable that the woman in that video was my mom. Her mannerism and voice, her words, the clothes she was wearing was very familiar to me. He clearly seduced her as he touched her while promising her money, and she slowly gave in. I couldn't watch out the video for obvious reasons because of how infuriating it was. I was mad at my mom, but I was madder with the man for clearly taking advantage of her. I noticed that the video wasn't recent. It seemed like it was recorded a few years ago when we first started our business. At that time, my mom was new to things and didn't have much experience. It was clear that she didn't realize someone was recording her. When I looked at the profile of the person who posted the video on the adult website, I saw something concerning. The person had several other videos that were similar. In these videos, he targeted women from the Hispanic community who were in vulnerable situations. He used the same trick and script to manipulate them. Sadly, his tactic seems to work, which was really upsetting to see. The parts that made me feel the worst was when I realized some of the maids had been filmed again on different days. I had a thought that maybe my mom had gone back there. I really wanted to watch his video archive to find out, but they were locked behind a payment. I was kind of angry about it, but I went ahead and paid so I could see all the videos. I needed to know if my mom was in more than one of them. I wanted to give my mom the benefit of the doubt and believe that she was taken advantage of. I saw her as a victim, but if I saw her in more videos, I would know that things had changed. It would mean that she wasn't just being used by the man anymore. She was part of it. I was relieved that there wasn't any proof suggesting my mom had returned to that place. My emotions were a mix of anger and frustration. I had this strong urge to track down the man responsible and confront him, maybe even harm him in some way. But he was quite skilled at hiding his true identity, making it difficult to even begin finding him. I thought about discussing the whole situation with my mom. I wanted to know the location of the place, but broaching the topic was a major challenge. How could I possibly start a conversation like, "Mom, I came across a video of you with a man you were hired to clean for." The thought alone was incredibly awkward and unsettling. I worried that bringing this up might deeply terrify my mom, especially the realization that her actions were now on the internet, even if her face was obscured and only familiar people could recognize her. Telling my dad about all this would be really tough because it could shatter him emotionally. It might not stop there. Our whole family and the business they have built together could suffer greatly. My parents play a big role in supporting me through school and taking care of my siblings. So bringing up this issue might cause a lot of problems and completely change our once happy family into a chaotic one. I am really struggling to figure out what the best thing to do is. If it become known that my mom is the person in the video, it could have devastating effects on our family. All the hard work we have put into our family life and the business could go to waste. I have carefully looked at everything, and it doesn't seem like my mom continued any involvement with the man beyond what's shown in the video. It looked like it might have been a one-time mistake. I reached out and asked them to take down the video, but they didn't pay attention to my request. I decided not to bring up the whole situation with my mom. Also, I didn't want to stir up trouble within our family by telling my dad about it. I didn't see my mom as intentionally trying to hurt anyone. In cases like this, when a vulnerable woman is alone in a stranger's house, especially if that person had done similar things many times before, it's really hard for her to stand up against any advances made by the person. I am not making excuses for my mom's action, and I believe she could have fought back and left the man's house. If she had done that, I would have been proud of her. However, I had to consider the bigger picture and the potential harm it might cause to our family, given that this incident happened years ago. Even though I could be mistaken in my approach, I felt that any other choice I could make would ultimately bring more pain and difficulty to the people I care about the most. It's a tough situation, and I have been wrestling with it for a while. I have been carrying this knowledge inside me for about 7 months now. During this time, whenever I see my mom, it's like my feelings toward her have changed. It's become a difficult situation for me to deal with. The whole thing have even made me to start to dislike the janitorial business my family is involved in. I am suggesting that they focus more on getting referrals and expanding into construction and plumbing. The thing is, they don't know what I know. So when I talk to them about it, they might not fully understand why I want these changes. The janitorial work brings in a steady and dependable income, which is why it's important. I am debating whether or not to share this story with anyone else. On one hand, I don't want to keep it inside me forever. That's why I'm sharing it now, hoping someone out there might provide a different way of looking at things. Some of you wanted me to share the website link, but I can't do that due to obvious reasons. Thank you for staying to the end of this video. Please support the channel by hitting the thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you and have a wonderful day.